Hi, welcome back to 2024 in Engine Shop Joe. And we've got a lot of exciting things in store. Hopefully, at the end of this year, I will have my website up and running. It'll be engineshopjoe.com. And we'll see how that goes. I'll have more time later in the year to work on that than I did in the previous years. I got it halfway built, but I never had time to really finish it and polish it off till I wanted to actually make it public. But let's get going here. And I told you last year that I had a pretty good video for to kick the year off with, and it's going to be a two-parter, and it's about the brand new, not brand new, but the newest Cummins heavy-duty engine, the X15 platform CM2450. And it's their premier on-highway engine, and this happens to be in a boom truck. I'll show you a picture of that in a second. And everything was going just perfect with it. And this unit would go out typically, it's a rental unit, and an operator takes it out. It's not something we rent to a customer. And the operator would drive it to the job either daily or weekly, depending on what the job was, and come back, and it had no problems at all. In fact, I didn't even know it was in the fleet until it had problems. So let's get started. So this is what the truck looks like that we're talking about. It has one engine in it down in the front. And when the operator gets up in the crane, he just hits a switch and his throttle and everything moves to the top, and then the hydraulics kick in and it runs. And that's an X15 2350. Now this is a after treatment history snapshot from a sister truck that was in the fleet a little bit longer, and I got this to take a look and to see typically what the engine would do in that chassis, because we got a few trucks that are just all identical. And so as you can see, the after in column 1, it should regen about every 103 104 hours. And on the far right, there's our restrictions in the filter: 1.4, 1.5, 2.6. Column 3, the outlet temperatures are reasonable. And then column 4, we know that all of the regens that we're looking at occurred while it was driving. And this after treatment history is seen inside the image analyzer. That's a right-click tool found on a work order screen in Insight. And it sorts all this history really nicely for you so that it's easy to view. So now let's take a look at the image that the mechanic sent me from the job site when I got the phone call. And here it is. This is a different unit, same engine, same kind of truck, everything, but this is the one with the problem. Now notice that we're regenning every, let's look in the center there, 106, 112, 110, 103, 113. That's great. Down towards the bottom at 484 hours, we had 158, and our soot load got up. It was abnormally high. And we can see on the far right, it was only at 1.9. And then we get up towards the top and we see, and that's the most recent or the newest, we can see that we're above normal, moderately severe, above normal, least severe. And if you add up the 77 and 136 hours in time since previous regen, it puts you at about 200 hours. So one of our guys goes out, and he's a very sharp guy, and he's at the job, and he called me up and goes, this thing's got lights on and it's derating. And he goes, I don't really know what to make of it. I don't know what to do because it runs good, sounds good. It was parked at a job, and it had been out at this job up on its outriggers for almost 6 weeks. And it was a big job, and the customer wanted the machine to stay there instead of us driving it back because it saved him travel time and mileage on the unit, so it made sense to keep it there. Typically, boom trucks don't stay at jobs. They will come back every day or usually every week at best, rarely 2 weeks, and this one's been out almost six. So it's at the job, it's running fine. It had 2 or 3 different operators that operated it. All of them were our company's operators. And so this fellow had been there earlier in the machine's job history and said he didn't have any problems, but now he called our mechanic out because he had faults. So let's take a quick look here. We've got 3715, that's a very unusual fault. 3497, diesel fluid tank. That just means they ran it a little low, not a big deal. We've got 2639, 1921, and 286, which is a network error. And it says not available when you look over to the right after the network error. And so I'm not even going to worry about that because not all the data is there. And it's probably just an erroneous fault. Now, the next thing we're going to do is look at the hours on faults. So what faults am I going to worry about? Well, 3715, that hasn't happened in 1,181 hours. So I'm not going to worry about that. 3497, the low depth tank, 1,220 hours ago. Not going to worry about that. 2639, differential pressures up, least severe. Doesn't turn on a light, but doesn't turn on a fault lamp, but does turn on the blue requires a regen lamp. And that was just 4 hours ago. And then 1921, that's third stage. And we skipped the second stage. We jumped right from 2639 to 1921. So what's that about? The fault that got skipped was 1896. So the usual progression is 2639, 1896, 1921, and then the dreaded 1922, where you're locked out and you have to have insight to get the system unlocked. And again, this is a new truck, not having any problems. So we're going to take a look at the fault snapshots that'll tell us what the differential pressure was in the after treatment when these faults logged, because we're trying to figure out what's going on. Now, when you're looking at fault snapshots, when we're logging faults for differential pressure being above its normal range, and then you see your first occurrence of diesel particulate filter differential pressure is 0.12, and then we're seeing 0.79 in the last occurrence. That's less than 1. And remember when we were looking at the after treatment history, that average we were like 1.1 to 2.7 is what you see for differential pressure. And we're logging faults when it's not even close to 1.0. What's that about? Of course, we're going to go from bad to worse. 1921 should be extremely high. I'm thinking I'm going to be seeing 3 point something to almost 4 point something in my filter differential pressure, and I've only got 0.87 and 0.75. So now I'm really confused, and I'm starting to wonder a couple different thoughts about what could be wrong. I'm going to stop here today. This is a lot to digest. This is a very strange one. We did figure it out, and we're going to talk about that in the next video or two. But I want you to go back and think about this, look it over again, and see if you can figure out what in the world was going on. Because it does all make sense, but it's definitely outside the box. Okay, we'll see you next time on Engine Shop Joe.